Bienvenidos una vez más a su programa Hablemos de Real Estate con Carlos Amaya, donde hablamos relacionado con real estate, familia y finanzas en los Estados Unidos. En el programa de hoy vamos a tener un invitado en inglés, un invitado de lujo, uno de los escritores de Bigger Pockets, se llama Matt Faircloth, va a hablar todo lo relacionado con raising capital, levantar capital, una de las actividades más importantes cuando decidimos invertir en real estate. Quédese con nosotros. El programa del día de hoy va a ser un programa para no perderse. ¿Por qué? Porque es una persona que tiene muchísima experiencia y lo más importante, tiene un corazón muy grande que quiere compartir toda la información que tiene con todos nosotros. En Hablemos de Real Estate con Carlos Amaya, creemos que la familia es la base de la sociedad. Por eso, nuestra misión es proveer información y herramientas a la comunidad latina de cómo lograr la libertad financiera a través de bienes raíces. Definitely, we have a great guest today. Someone that I admire a lot, someone that has a lot of knowledge, and someone that has a great heart. And besides that, he's a person that is willing to share everything that he's doing and through his career. For me, it's a pleasure to introduce my friend, Matt Faircloth. Matt, how are you, man?
I am very, very well, Carlos. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I told you this week is my birthday, and I asked you to come to my show because that was my birthday gift from you. So thank you very much.
You are quite welcome. Every year on your birthday, I'll come on your show if you need me to. No problem.
Okay, we have
Very
that.
grateful to do
We have that on camera. So
that.
so let's start for just. Can you tell us? I mean, for the 1%, the people that don't know who you are, I know 99% of people know who
So
you are.
few.
But so how do you start in the real estate and who you are, and then we get into like what you're doing right now in terms of like raising capital, which is one of the most important activities in real estate. So, but let's start from the beginning. So, how do you get
First of
into real
all, I
estate?
want to tell you how powerful it is getting introduced in Spanish, and to hear you speak in your native Spanish language about me, to hear my name and bigger pockets and all that. Like I want to bring that introduction around and be introduced in Spanish all the time. It was so special. So thank you for that. So I'm Matt Faircloth. I'm a full-time real estate investor and have been since 2005. So going up on 17 years, Carlos, full-time real estate investing, believe it or not. And I got started doing what they call a house hack, which I'm sure you talk about on your show. You live in one unit and rent the other ones out. Where I lived in a three bedroom house, and I lived in one bedroom and rented out the other two bedrooms to my friends. And so that was my first rental property. And then fast forward up through me quitting my job and my wife and I agreeing that I would be the build a real estate business while she built up while she supported us with the which is regular income. Did some fix and flips, did some rental deals, and slowly worked our way up into larger and larger projects until one day in 2011 she was having coffee with a friend of hers from grad school, and just said that we've been doing this real estate thing for a while, and he was a friend of hers from graduate school. She went to University of Pennsylvania, and he said to her what I say are the magic words of private capital, which is, "Man, I sure wish I could do that myself, but I just don't have the time." Right? And those are the magic words of private capital, of real estate investing, because what real estate can offer is a marriage of other people's money, capital, and time. You don't have to have both. You don't have you have to have one, I think, time or money. But both are just the same of value in real estate investing. And I had quite a bit of time, but I needed more money to get where I wanted to go. And my friend, my new friend now, my wife's friend from graduate school, had no time. He worked 80 hours a week, made a lot of money, but had no time. And that was the first partnership that we struck. And fast forward there to him introducing us to all of his friends, and now we were very lucky and have a lot of folks that have invested with us over the years, to the point now where we're running I don't know, maybe a dozen apartment complexes across the United States. Multiple just different business angles of attack, and that, and we're still raising lots of money and putting it into real estate deals. But we've been able to take the lessons we learned and recycle them over and over again. And I'm blessed to run the DeRosa Group with a lot of great people that help me bring it to fruition every day.
That's not like a amazing story. Something that I realized that people wanted to know want to always know the beginning. So, how was your first deal? You told, I mean, one of the things that I like about you, because you're a great guy, and besides that, you're a Libra. I just find out about that. So that's what
You knew that in your heart anyway, didn't you? Right? That we had that in common. Yeah.
that explains everything. But at the same time,
Yeah.
so your wife is in the business. She has
Yes.
a podcast as well. I got the opportunity to meet her last year at
Yes.
BPCon 21. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna be there. Are you gonna wait? Are you gonna go into San Diego the next week?
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
I'll see
Yeah.
you. I'll see you there too. So let's talk about the first deal, because you mentioned the story really fast, which is an amazing story. But let's go back to the beginning. So, how did you guys buy the first property? Can you tell us about the first deal? And I mean, the
Sure.
struggle to get it, and how did it work out before we start talking about like raising
Cool.
capital, all those
Of
huge deals
course.
that you did?
Carlos, it's sexy to talk about, multi-million dollar multifamily apartment buildings. That's fun. But that wasn't the first step or the 10th step in my journey. And for those listening that want to scale up in multifamily or scale up in real estate in general, it's fun to talk about the big stuff, but it's more practical to talk about the beginning, things of getting started and everything like that. So
Yep.
happy to go there. So aside from the house that I lived in, my wife and I, my girlfriend at the time, and wife now, but my girlfriend Liz and I decided we wanted to invest in real estate together. So believe it or not, while we were still dating, we were looking at rental properties together. And so we went, and I lived in Philadelphia, or just outside of Philly, and she lived up in New Jersey. And so we decided Philly would be the market that we would invest in. And so I started looking around Philadelphia for deals. We went to some real estate meetups and got educated and everything like that. And our first deal, we had some capital lined up, which was from her dad that wanted to give us a small investment for a down payment on a property. And you didn't need much back then. This is before the crash of 2008. This is in 2004, before I quit my job, that we were looking for our first real estate deal. She needed like 10% down maybe to buy a piece of real estate, believe it or not, Carlos. So we decided that what we would do, we heard this tip, this is still a good tip. We heard this tip at a real estate meetup that if you want to buy small real estate, go look in the for rent ads. And people, this is back when people were advertising properties for rent in newspapers, right? Not anymore. But what we started doing was start calling the properties listed for rent. And we would say, hey, I see you have it listed for rent. Do you have any interest in selling? I see you have it listed for rent. Do you have any interest in selling? And we call these people over and over and over again. And we got hung up on, we got laughed at, we got all these different things. Until finally, we found this person that said, I would sell. And for this is my number for selling. And the number they gave us made sense. And so we decided, well, let's put a deal together. We got financing. We borrowed the money from her dad. And we bought this little duplex down a one-way alley in Philadelphia, in the middle of East Falls, Philadelphia. I mean, like not a good price, kind of down a weird little spot, but it worked. And we closed. A week later, we had to evict our first tenant. Right after that, and then a month after that, we evicted the other tenant. And so we ended up, because they both decided they were going to pay the rent right after we took over, and we just ended up having a really clean house. We slowly turned it around and brought it back online and learned how to manage ourselves, and had a bumpy road, but we got it there, and ended up selling it a couple of years after we bought it for a reasonable profit. And so it was a good classroom. I still remember both the tenants' names. I can't say them now, but I remember both the tenants because they left it was our first tenants. They left an impact on me.
Okay, so that was your first deal. You still had a W-2. So
Yeah.
what was next? For a lot of guys, a lot of people wanted to get into real estate. And one of the issues that they don't have enough time, but they have a job, so they don't know how to do it. So in your case, and I might ask you this question because a lot of my guests just tell the whole story, how they scale to like 100 units, 1,000 units, but people wanted to know the beginning, so they can just they can see themselves in your position and then figure out how to grow up. So how did you guys do it?
I'll tell you this, Carlos. The people that you either have a job that you love or that produces you so much money that you really shouldn't quit it because you'd have to change your lifestyle, right? That's one person. So that means you're not going to leave your job, but you want to invest. You see the light. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You want to try something different, right? That is a passive investor. That person should just put their money to work through other people. They should not leave their job or have any aim to do so. Then there's the person who either doesn't like their job, feels like they're not fully actualized, wants to do something different, wants to quit and be a full-time real estate investor. That person needs to put in mostly their time. And it's either money. You got to choose what you can put into the game, money or time. And so those that are looking to quit their job, you want to try and take on as big a deal as you can handle with your resources and the time that you have now. Resources, maybe some of your money, but it could also be other people's money that you leverage into your business. But for the most part, it's also just your network and your know-how on how to make deals work. So it's either you got to choose money or time. Which one you want to put into a deal, and that's how you scale. And you just if you're the active investor that's putting in your time, you just maybe double your portfolio every time you do a deal. So I bought a duplex, right? And then after that, what I did was when we sold that duplex, I traded up into 2 fourplexes. I bought 2 8-unit apartment buildings next door to each other. That was my next deal. Then I bought a little single family home that I thought I was going to flip, but I decided not to. I decided to fix it and keep it. And so I did that. And we slowly just worked our way up and up and up and up into larger and larger real estate deals and worked our way up from there. That's how you scale smart, especially if you're putting in your time. Is you just go as far as your comfort level is willing to let you go and scale up if you're going to scale yourself. Or you can join somebody else's team, somebody else's business plan, and help them get where they want to go in exchange for some of the deal. Well, they're going to keep the lion's share, but you can at least keep something yourself.
Okay, so you started scaling up, and when did you guys decide to work as a team with your wife, and when did you guys ended up getting into a Bigger Pockets podcast? Because that was
a long time ago.
that was a huge moment for you guys.
Yeah, we never not worked as a team. My wife and I have always been a team of operations in different facets of real estate. I mean, it's ebbed and flowed, the involvement that she's had, because she's also been growing the real estate investor community. She's also been, we have 2 young kids, so she's, had took some time off when we had them and everything like that. So she has been up and down, and has always wanted to have her own venture too, but she's also been involved in DeRosa as well. In that. Now, Bigger Pockets, we get involved with them in 2013, I think, 2014, somewhere in there. And they were looking for new authors for their blog. And we had a phone call scheduled with their head of marketing, which when they were like a 4-person company. And the person that we had the interview with was Brandon Turner. So he interviewed us about whether or not we'd be good for writing articles for them and everything like that. And the whole time on the phone call and talking to him, I keep calling it Better Pockets. Right? The whole time. And my wife I looked at my phone, my wife's just texting me the whole time going, "Fool, it's Bigger Pockets. Idiot, it's Bigger Pockets." It's like in all capital letters, just blowing my phone up. And but apparently it didn't rub them the wrong way, because he let us write articles for them. And I wrote articles for Bigger Pockets for a year. And then after a year's time, after doing that every week for a year, we got the shot to go on the podcast. We had a call from Mindy Jensen on a Sunday saying, "Hey, our Monday guest canceled. Will you come on the show?" And we were like, "Yes, we'll do it." And so if you listen very closely to show number 88, which is the first show that I've been on, you can hear my son crying in the background because we couldn't find childcare. So my son was in the next room sitting in his crib, so we made it work.
So what was the name of the guest that canceled?
What's that?
What was the name of the guest? The guest that they have?
I believe it was Grant Cardone.
I know.
Yeah. No, he got back on. They certainly let him back on, but I believe he just wasn't able to make it for a scheduling conflict.
So I ask you that question because we belong to the Mastermind. I mean, you belong to the Mastermind for a long time. Yeah.
Crab life big, right? I see your water bottle. Right?
I represent it over here as well. So
yeah.
And then we talk about like overnight success. We talk about like everybody wants to be like a Brandon Turner. And it took him like 10 years, over 10 years.
Sure.
And you guys at the same time, I mean,
Yes.
like they see you. I mean, you wrote a book for them. You've been in their podcast a couple of times. Your wife has a podcast. It's her, but it takes time, and that's one of the things that I really like about real estate. I kind of against the gurus that they tell people they can get rich like in 90 days, which is not true, and you know that's not true. It takes time and
Yeah.
effort. So that's what I want you to share the story, because some people think that it's
Thank
just
you.
it's an overnight activity that you do and then you become
If I
rich.
can add to that, Carlos, let me just underscore something very important I said in that story, right? That some people are like, oh, well, he just happened to be in the right place at the right time. When Grant Cardone cancels for the Bigger Pocket podcast, Matt and Liz are there. No, the reason we got that phone call is because A, we had the courage to reach out to Bigger Pockets and ask them if we could write articles for them, right? And then they said yes. That was our shot. That was our window right there. But we wrote articles every day for a year. Every day. Well, I'm sorry. I wish I no. Every week for a year. We wrote articles every week, so 1,000 word articles, which were difficult to write, but we made it work, and it made me pretty good at writing, and it got me into the space of writing and responding to comments and maintaining the blog feed when the articles would be written and published and stuff like that. So that was the sweat that it took to be the overnight success, right? From a getting noticed standpoint. Yeah, and then the podcast happened, and that's next level for us, for me and Liz, and for our business. And there was a Matt and Liz and DeRosa group before Bigger Pockets podcast, and there's a Matt and Liz, success after Bigger Pockets podcast. It's different. It's just different, like night and day, right? But there is a lot of sweat that it took to get there. Not everybody sees that. Everybody thinks that I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And you can think that all you want. I hope you do think that, because that'll make you not try hard. That'll make you not do what I did, and I'll have less competition, and that's fine.
That, that's amazing. I always say the luck is when preparation means opportunity. That's when people get lucky. And one of the things that I wanted to mention that is because for the couple to be in real estate, be successful, and at the same time it continue to be married, because you know how hard it is I mean, real estate is an amazing industry, and you know that. I mean, you're like,
it's combining two very hard things. It's combining being married and also being a real estate investor.
I know.
Yeah.
But besides that, I want to point it out is that from all the people that I met in real estate, and I'm truly mean this, you are one of the nicest person. I mean, you always, since day one, you always told me, I want to just add value. I want to, and you went out of your way all the time to try to guide me and just to try to be, to add value to everybody that's around you. And I think that's one of your secrets of success. So that's what I wanted to have in the show, especially for this special week because it's my birthday.
I feel recognized and acknowledged. Thank you. I appreciate that. And
So
that's what I put out there. I try and do my best by people no matter what. I try and just help people, because I know for a fact, and just take this down too, that the more people I help, the more money I make. And so I'm not helping people to make money, don't get me wrong, but it's just that divine law of attraction and reciprocity, that the more I give, the more I get, and I just know that's just how it works. So if I just selflessly give myself out to the world, I know it pays back, in ways that I don't even know that it's going to pay back yet. So I'm all about that.
I know.
Yeah.
But you do it in a way that it seems genuine. I mean, you do it in a way that seems natural. It's not like, okay. No, I know what you mean. It's not like I want to help a lot of people because I want to make a lot of money. No, that's not the case with you right now.
Yeah, I do it because I care.
No, you do care. So you start doing that. You do the bigger packets. You start doing the fourplex, and then you get the bigger units. So when did you guys get to multifamily? I got a chance to meet your wife last year, and she was telling me that you got an area in New Jersey, and you guys wanted to try to do as many projects over there in Trenton, New Jersey, and then you decided
to take over Trenton. My friends, Carlos, called me the Trump of Trenton.
That's what you said to me. We try to save Trenton, like just to make it better. So when did you guys decided, that's not the path. I want to scale to larger units and just get out of New Jersey. When did you guys do that?
I mean, I still wish the city of Trenton the best. and I still think it's got phenomenal opportunity. And I think that one day Trenton may become something, or may rebirth and become what it was in the 50s and 60s, and 70s, right? But I just couldn't live and die by that. And I realized an old adage that a friend of mine taught me something. He said, "You cannot change a market. You can only hope to participate in that market." And so I was trying to change Trenton as one real estate investor. And this is a small group of us, but we're not going to change the market unless I want to go and invest $4 billion into Trenton and completely change the economy and provide tons and tons of jobs and tons of housing or whatever. I'm not going to be the one to change that marketplace. And so I decided that I also didn't want to live and die by it. And so I decided that I would go and diversify. And that's where it got started, is we started investing in Philadelphia. And so we did a project in Philly, and that went really well. And it was just different than landlording in Trenton was. It's not Philly. Philly's got its own problems too, but it was a different experience in landlording in Philadelphia and doing a deal in Philadelphia, and the deal seemed to do a little bit better. It was just, again, the taxes were different, management strategies were different, and so we decided that new markets were where we would make our scene. And so we decided to invest in Philly, and then in Lancaster, and then eventually in where we really decided that our investing home now is North Carolina. And we did our first deal there, after Lancaster. And we've rarely done deals outside of the Carolinas since. We've done a lot of deals in Kentucky too. But after I've gotten out of New Jersey, it's hard to get me back in. After I see how easy it is to get deals done and to make things profitable, and not have, to be honest, not have the amount of regulations and, just the amount of regulations and red tape that New Jersey has. It's just a tough place to do business.
No, it
But
is. We do
yeah,
invest. We do invest in New Jersey as well, and
yeah,
and I know the pain. So let's talk about the title of the show, raising capital. Um,
yeah.
I read your book. I didn't read it. I listened to it because I like
That's
audiobook.
okay.
So I know it's still the same information.
Thank
So
you. Either one. Yeah.
yeah, no, it was an amazing book. Really entertaining. So one of the main activities, and you mentioned it before. I mean, you either have time or have money, or have the knowledge to run the project. So when you decided to go big and do like syndication and large apartment units, so one of the big components use the capital, raising capital, and like a lot of people reached out for that, and they talk about the OPM, other people's money. So but it's an art to raise money. So
Mhm.
how did you decide that was one of your angles? I know it's not the only one; it's one of them. And how did you decide that was going to be one, and then you ended up writing a great book? I mean, because it's one thing to know that you're good at it, but you be able to write a book, and a book that's a bestseller, and the bigger package, I mean, hold it and publish it. So when do you decide that you're going to be your angle, and how do you develop it?
Oh, well, they had come to me. It was a mutual decision. I'd been on the podcast a few times. They liked the articles that I had written, and they said, we need more authors, because they'd had at that point Brandon and David Green had written a bunch of books for them, and Jay Scott and all that. But they wanted to expand. They needed more people writing. They didn't. They loved, and those guys write great books, but they didn't want just their books. And so this is a time they were looking to expand, and they had just released a book by Chad Carlson and Anston Young, and they were looking for more authors. And so they came to us and said, "Hey, are you open to this?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." And so I pitched them 3 books, and the first 2 they didn't like, and the third book they loved, which was Raising Private Capital, because Bigger Pockets is a how-to company. They want how-to books, and the other 2 books were not how-to books. I may still write them, but the third one was Raising Private Capital. And they really, it was not their first time in producing a book either. So what they did, and I advise this to anyone that wants to write a book, is they said, okay, we want you to write the full outline for the book, and not just the outline. We want you to really put a lot of what each chapter is going to tell. Like, kind of tell the story, and put as much detail in the outline as you can. So it wasn't just, this is what the chapter title is going to be. This is what it's going to be about. This is the takeaways the reader's going to get from each chapter. So I put a lot of detail in that outline, and that outline made writing the book a lot easier than it would have been had I not had it. had I not had it. And so it made raising private capital. It was not certainly not easy, Carlos. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it made it possible. Let's put it that way. And so I spent a lot of time at Starbucks. I spent a lot of time on weekends, and just so you know, the other thing, Carlos, is I'm still running a business. I'm still moving my company, right? I'm still advancing things, and I'm still doing deals and all that. And then I got to go sit down and write a book, which is another job. Which is, writing a book is hard. It's writing and creating good content is hard, especially if you're not using a ghostwriter and you're writing it yourself with your own hands, as I did. It can be very, very difficult, and that. So, you asked for like a tip, right? There's a book called there's a guy, Stephen R. Pressfield, who wrote 3 books. One's called Turning Pro. One's called The War of Art, and I forget the third one. But those 3 books are great titles for creators, and an author is a creator. And so I recommend those books to anyone that's thinking of writing a book. But Stephen R. Pressfield, and he's a phenomenal. He's the guy that wrote the book, The Legend of Bagger Vance. He wrote that novel, and he also just wrote a book about what it is to be a creator. So.
Perfect. So let's talk about raising capital. So I'm not expecting that we go through the whole book, because I mean it's a long book. It's a great book.
I'm gonna read it to you tonight. Pull it out and I'll read it. Chapter 1. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No. But let's go about the keys. I mean, how does someone, because like usually, like Tony Robbins said, that the people you do things because they wanna either like just get pleasure, or they wanna like try not to have pain.
You want to receive pleasure to avoid pain.
Yeah, one of those two. That's why people do that, and people don't want to do raise capital because they have the pain. They don't want to ask for money. So how do people can raise capital the right way, if there is a right way?
Well, the right way to do it is to begin before you need it.
Okay.
And so to start, you got to start looking for capital before you need capital. You cannot. I'll tell you, you go like, hey, I got this 20-unit apartment building and I close in 3 weeks and I need equity for it. Good luck. I mean, people are going to see the desperation. They're going to see that you need. They're not going to like that you're that far along and you don't have the capital together yet. So I recommend that you start with your friends and family and start becoming an educator. Talk to your friends and family about real estate investing, about how amazing it is and how it's changed your life, and how you admire people that you meet on Bigger Pockets, or admire people you meet in the world that are successful real estate investors and how they've been able to build it. And tell your network about real estate investing, because they might not know you as the real estate investor, and you need your network to start viewing you as a real estate investor and not as the other very, very admirable job which you may have, not as the school teacher or the firefighter or the stockbroker or whatever it is your profession is. They can't view you as that. They have to view you as the real estate investor. You have to shift your network's view of you. That means you got to put out posts on social, not like, hey, invest with me or whatever. You're going to just educate your market about real estate investing, and maybe just consider doing a newsletter, consider hosting meetups, consider having events to get attention for yourself as a real estate investor. That's the first thing you got to do. And I think that's the most common misconception is people think they need a deal first. You don't. You need the money lined up first that has interest in working with you. Then you go find a deal.
Amazing. So I've been mentioned this multiple times. They're like secret investors. Nobody knows that people invest. So you have to just put the word out, and at the same time, like you said, you need to show that you have the need for the money right now because you have a deal. You have to make sure you add value, and then you become you show yourself like an expert. Well, although you have to know about the subject, and then like something that I want you to mention about the Gary Vee tactic, and I love that. Let's
He's my hero. I love Gary Vee.
Yeah, I know. Let's get into like creation content, because I know you have a large following. You have a great YouTube channel, and then you follow Gary Vee to the T. So and I think that's huge. Just to figure out how do you give value, and eventually when you ask for it. But a lot of people just ask, and then they might give some value, but I mean, you get burned that way. So let's talk about how you generate content and how you follow the Gary Vee strategy.
Okay, so Gary Vee, the biggest thing I got from him is that the biggest thing you need to do is put out your best content for free, right? And that's very hard because most people in our industry, Carlos, try and put out BS content, and they tell you, hey, listen, if you want to know the real stuff, you got to pay me $5,000. I'm going to tell you the real stuff that's over here.
The,
But
the,
I'm
the,
the
the,
opposite of
the,
that. I don't.
the secret sauce.
Right. You want the secret sauce? Well, that's going to cost you $10,000, right? Gary Vee is like, screw all that. Like, give him the secret sauce. Give it to him. Here you go. Here's the recipe. And that's what I've been doing. That's my YouTube channel. If you look, very little of it's pitchy. Very much of my YouTube channel is ask me a question, ask me anything. A lot of people said most of the content on my YouTube channel is submitted to us by our audience. They email me questions, and I'll tell them, what do you want to talk about? Fix and flips, wholesales, apartment buildings, getting started, LLCs, investing with your spouse. What do you want? So that's been my philosophy. That's Gary's philosophy. And the second thing is that Gary also has taught me that you can't expect your content to be perfect before you put it out. You can't like take it and polish it up like a shining little nickel and then put it in the internet machine and hope you get $1 million or 1 million downloads, right? You got to produce content and put out as much as you feasibly can, and understand that a lot of it's going to be complete garbage, and your audience is going to be okay with it. They don't care. They just won't watch it, but they want to see continued content, and you never know what's going to stick. You never know what your audience is really going to gravitate to. People see and can tell when something's inauthentic. But if you put out authentic content from your heart all the time, people see that too. And that's what helps you grow.
I love that. People want to wait until they make it perfect and they never start. That's why when people ask me, what kind of equipment do I need to start the podcast? What kind of microphone? I said, just don't buy anything. Just do it with your phone. And then after you do like 50 episodes, then you start buying equipment. And then you figure out that this is something you want to do for a long term.
Tell you what, buy a $30 Logitech on Amazon, whatever's on sale. Okay, that's the camera you need. And then I'm beyond that now. You and I both have the swanky microphones and everything like that. But that's what I started with. I started with like this, with the cell phone, with this thing around my neck. That's how I started doing podcasts and stuff like that. Right?
I don't know, and that's what it is, because I think talking about podcasts, the easiest thing to do is to start the podcast. The hard thing is to maintain it. And we have a common friend, which is Eric Cabral. And I've been talking with Eric for a long time. And he mentioned all the time, that so many people start the podcast, but it's hard to maintain it because they don't do it for the right reasons. And you mentioned Gary Vee about the jab and right hook. And that's an amazing, that's an amazing strategy, because that you have to just give value and just give the right value.
That, right? I love that philosophy too. I was actually explaining that to somebody else. Sure. And for your audience who doesn't know about jab, right hook, it's brilliant, right? In boxing, the jab is something you just do just to make sure your opponent's there. You're not trying to connect. You're not trying to knock them down. You're just like, hey, listen, I'm right here. Don't you get too close. I'm right here. You're identifying the distance between you and your opponent just a little bit, right? And then there's the right hook that you go to knock out. You go to close, right? So jab, right hook in marketing is the jab is free stuff, right? Give away something free. Here you go, audience, take it. Here you go. No ask. I don't need anything. The right hook is when you go and close and start asking for something, right? And as much as you're trying to knock your audience out, you are getting their trust, getting them to drop their guard, if you will. It's like, okay, I guess he's not that bad. And then, right hook, he's knocked me out. I love him, and everything like that. So that's what we do too. We give away a lot of free stuff, and sometimes we ask people to invest with us. Sometimes we tell people about a boot camp we're having through Bigger Pockets. Sometimes we tell people to buy my book. But almost like 90%, I throw 90% jabs, Carlos. I throw 90% jabs, 10% right hooks.
And when you ask them, like I remember, I forgot who told me this, but when you ask them, it's like, it's not like you offer them something like because you want to sell them, it's because something that they need. So
Mhm.
you bring value, and like sometimes it's like an obligation for you to tell them, listen, I have this great deal. For example, when you have a deal, I have this great deal. People that want to want to invest in real estate, they've been listening to bigger packets for a long time, or they've been
Yeah.
listening, we listen to my podcast for a long time in Spanish, and but at the same time they don't have time, and they have the analysis paralysis, and they have the money in the bank. So for you, in your case, or in my case, we have a deal. So listen, this is what we do. I mean, we solve a problem. You have the money sitting in the bank, so we can just give you an opportunity. So at the same time, the hook is not like we want to just knock them down. We just have an opportunity for them that's going to be a benefit for them as well.
It's just a close. It's just that, right. It's have I got something for you, right? But you're not trying to connect and everything like that. You're not in the jabs. You're just trying to make sure that they're there, and then at some point you've really got something to offer that's worth their consideration, and that's okay to offer something to your audience. But if all you're doing is offering, then all you're doing is trying to sell them. And believe me, people are smart. They see through that.
Definitely, the people see through that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about working with your wife. What,
Yeah.
because I work with my wife as well. I used to have a W-2. I left my W-2 in 2019. I'm working out of my house. I drive my wife crazy. I joined GoBandance last year, thank God, after BPCon 21. So what is the biggest struggle that you have working with your wife? And how do you pass through it?
Um. Hmm.
You
No,
must have,
no.
I know she's so nice. You must have a struggle.
What's that?
I say I know she's nice, but I'm sure you have some struggles working as a couple.
Oh, my
And
wife, she's very strong. I married a very strong woman, and I'm proud to say that. I mean, my wife is not a pushover, man. My wife is an absolute strong human being, and she holds her own, and she's not a yes dear kind of person. So the biggest struggles we've had in investing with each other has been simply in like um, understanding two things: when we need to be husband and wife, and when we need to be uh, business partners. Right? That's number one. Because it's tough to, I mean, sometimes when you're trying to go to sleep, the last thing you want to talk about when your head's hitting the pillow is who paid their rent that month, right? So sometimes you got to just put the business down and and let the business lay down for a little bit. And sometimes it took my wife and I a while to figure that out. That's number one. Number two is you can't treat either spouse like they work for the other person. You have to have mutual respect, mutual ownerships, mutual directions, but also, mutual ownership of everything. And because your spouse doesn't want to be your employee. Your spouse doesn't want to work for you. They want to work with you and create something alongside you. They don't want to be your staff. Nobody wants that from their spouse, or that subservient nature thing, right? So those are two tips, and I can't say that. I mean, Liz and I, we also had to find things that we both owned. Like she had to own her own thing, and I had to own my own thing, and there are different things we worked on together. And that's what it takes for two strong personalities like ours. We needed to have our own sandboxes too, and then things that we worked on in the middle. So that's what's worked for us.
it is amazing because I mean the splitting the roles is great. And when you talk about like you're just talking about real estate, something that used to happen to us with my wife. She used to wait like until the end of the night. I was ready to go to sleep, and then she turned around. She said, "Honey," and she mentioned something about the business, and then she going to sleep, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm sorry." And then I was thinking the whole night, and then I was telling her, don't tell me anything. I mean, if you have something to tell me first thing in the morning, because then I won't be able to sleep.
No, she can't tell you. Like, it's like, why you put your head in a sleep? Hey, by the way, the bank called. You know what? The bank called? You didn't tell me. I'm like, I can't call it back. Why did they call? Right? Yeah. That's funny. Um, yeah, but it's about being. You've got to just have that space where there's sometimes to work and there's sometimes to just be married.
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about like your personal life. I know you like Marvel.
You
Yeah.
love it.
So what like, and I love that because when I went to your office, and I think I have a couple of pictures, and because you allow me to be behind the scenes. You were recording like a webinar for bigger
Yeah,
packets, and for me that was huge. I mean, I was like, because I've been listening to bigger packets for a long time, so I was there, even though I was a fly in the wall. It was great to see you in action. So, but I was able to see all the Marvel characters and
A
everything. So
gear, yeah.
with all the gears and everything, and the shield and everything. So when did you start liking Marvel? And I mean, and how do you develop it? I mean, because some people like, okay, have a hobby, I really like it, but I just don't pursue it. Or I don't follow it, but you really like it and you embrace it.
I do, and I own it, and I'm entertained by it, and I think that it's just an embodiment of society. There's a lot of humanity in the characters and in superheroes. I think it's why superheroes have been enamored by people for the. I mean, that we like the Greeks told stories of gods and heroes and Hercules and things like that. We've always talked about superhumans, right, as people, and I think that that's because that's who we strive to become. We'd all like to one day fly, or we'd all like to one day shoot lightning bolts out of our hands or something like that, because we want to be the best version of ourselves. Now, I was not that into comic books when I was a kid. I was into like GI Joe and stuff like that, comic books, but I wasn't into Marvel as a kid. I got into Marvel as an interest of mine in my like 30s, my 20s and my 30s, when the Marvel movies started coming out, when Iron Man came out or whatever. I started getting more. Immediately I saw the first Iron Man and I was in love. I said, this is just such a great story. And so everything that they've produced, I've gone to go see. I've seen all of them many times. I've got my son into them and everything like that. My favorite, as you know, because you saw the big shield in my office, is Captain America. And I not only because I love what America stands for, like not Republican, not Democrat, no party owns that flag. But what I love that it stands for is the land of choice, and I can say what I want to say and do what I want to do. And hopefully, and as we get like, I wish we could get back to this a little bit in this country of not making the other person wrong for what they say. In that, but I believe in a country of free choice and free opportunities. Captain America as a character, the reason why he's my favorite is because if you watch the movie, he was strong on the inside. He was courageous on the inside. He was his best self here inside, and he even fell on a hand grenade to save his own partners, right? His own soldiers, and then they gave him a serum and a gamma ray treatment that made him a superhuman, amazing person. So many other superheroes had something happen to them on the outside, and then they had to step up and become amazing to match up with that. But Captain America did it the right way, and I think it's the way that a lot of us have to do it. Is if you want to succeed in life, the success has to come from the inside, then out. And I think that's why he's a perfect embodiment of a successful human being, of inner success, inner conquering your demons, then pushing outwards.
That was an amazing explanation, and I agree with you. I
As
also
you
love.
can tell, I'm very passionate.
And I know, I can tell. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that, like your personal life. So what are your hobbies? What do you like to do when you are not like running your business, looking for deals, doing podcasts,
Yeah.
speaking at conference? So what are your hobbies? What do you look? What do you like to do when you're free?
Anything outdoors.
Outdoors,
Anything outdoor. If I'm
like what?
outside, huh?
Like what?
Oh, let's see. It's warm now, and here where I live. So my wife and I went for a several-hour hike, and just a mutual friend of ours, Tim Road in GoBundance, calls it getting the goods in the woods, right? And so I like to get the goods in the woods. We get outdoors, get the fresh air, and feeling the outdoorsness on me, getting sun on my skin. I love that side of it. So that could be things I enjoy doing outdoors. Biking, we've done a good fair amount of kayaking. Like I said, just hiking on trails, going for a long walk. Where I live in Pennsylvania is right on this towpath, and so I'll do a couple of like an hour walk on the towpath sometimes. Running out, even just jogging outside, that kind of thing. And when it gets cold, I love to ski. I don't mind going for walks in the cold, to just get some just to be outdoors. I don't mind the coldness either. So those are hobbies of mine. I used to, Carlos, other hobbies. I used to make my own wine. I'm trying to get back into that now, into making my own wine. And I love being with friends. I'm a social creature, so there's nothing like just sipping a glass of wine and having a great conversation with a friend. And that's it. I just love good conversation too. And that's it.
Yeah.
And then just enjoy soaking up as much of life as I can.
Okay. I like wine, by the way. So when
Good.
I'm whenever you have your wine, I'll be more than happy to go
Give me a
taste.
little bit of time. It takes time, but I gladly give you a bottle next time I see you once I've got a batch made for you.
Or we can have it together.
We can go buy some.
Yes.
We can go buy wine whenever you want.
So, so,
Yeah.
so you wrote a book, and one of the huge advantage of this era that you're gonna be able to access information in like in a very easy way. So you can just buy the book and just read or listen to it. So I would like for you to recommend us a book besides yours, because yours is
Fun.
amazing,
Yeah.
and I already listened to it. So
What kind of
uh,
book? Business
uh,
book,
no,
personal book.
whatever you are, like a book in a movie, like someone that listen to us or that's watching to us live, or that just watching or see us in the recording later. So, what kind of book would you recommend? It doesn't have to be like a really, really, really like a business book, but like a book that would bring some value to someone right now that you would
Sure.
like to recommend,
I'll
and,
give you
and a movie too.
a book that the world needs more of right now because we're so caught up in being right and making sure the other side's wrong and everything like that. And it's a book that changed my life and made me see that we're all really on the same journey. Okay. And I read it when I was 19 years old. And the book was called Conversations with God
Okay.
by Neil Donald Walsh. It's absolutely fantastic book. And it's not a religious book. It's not going to try and make you anything. It's not a Christian book. It's not a book about Judaism or anything like that. It's a book about the common thread that we all have within us and about the inner soul and the connection that we all have there. And it's made me see the divinity in everyone. And it's made me, all the way back to you said that I'm a giving person and I know the law of reciprocity and all that kind of stuff. It's because of that book that book taught me about really the purpose of why we're here on earth to begin with. Why are we even walking this walk together? That book answered those questions for me. And I think that in the world that we're in now, we need more unity because I
Definitely.
don't see much these days. So I think we need more unity, more stand up, more everybody getting on the same page and seeing that we're all really walking the same walk and saying the same things.
I love you mentioned that, because a lot of people like recommend like business books, and there are a lot of great books there,
There are.
included yours.
Yes.
But at the same time, just to go back to basics and use the connection with the the superior like being, which is God, for
Yeah.
the one that we believe to God. So I love that you mentioned that book, and I'm not sure I read that book. My wife is really great in those kind of books. I'm gonna ask her, or otherwise I'm gonna go get it and just read it, because it
So
sounds like a
listen
great
to
book.
it. Get it on audio, right? Because the people that they got voices to read the voices of God and the guy asking the guy talking to God, right? And the voice of God is Edward Asner, the guy that played the man in Up, and he's just a great commanding, booming voice. I don't think he's around anymore, but
What, what,
um,
what was the name of the book again? I just want to.
Conversations with God, and get it on audio. So don't you can read the hard copy too. Hard copy is very good, but the audio is fantastic.
I love audio.
Yes,
I don't really listen. So
yeah.
anyway,
Get the audio version. It's worth it. And then text me afterwards and let me know what you think.
I will. I will. I text you when I read your book. And when I listened to your book, it was a great book. I was
Yeah,
driving. I was driving through Florida. I was on vacation, and I got it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is gold." That no, no. I mean, and that was after I met you. I mean, it was great. So what is your differentiator? What can you do, all the things that you do? What can you be as a good giver, as you are, as a good business person, as a good influencer, because you are, as a good leader, because you are a leader? So what can you do those things and what other people might not be able to do it? So what are your differentiator?
what makes me different? I think that this drives people crazy about me is that I'm really, really good in the last moment. Like that's actually where I'm brilliant is at the last second. If I give myself 3 weeks to get something done, it's going to be a mess. If I give myself 3 minutes to get something done, it's brilliant. And so I feel I don't know. I feel like I should just live life on the fly. But that's one thing that I find that I'm great at is in the moment decisions, in the moment, just not having time to overthink things, just not preparing for something, just walking in and being my best.
I'm laughing because that happens to me too. I like sometimes I have like 2 days to prepare a show, and usually like, when I have like half an hour right before we have the go, like we have live shows like Tuesdays and Friday at 12 noon, and sometimes like 11:20. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then I'm doing I'm doing the slides and everything, and 11:59.59:58, and I'm ready and I go. But like you say, if I have 3 weeks, I might burn the 3 weeks, and I might not be able to get as good as a quality content as
I overthink things, and if I give myself more time, Carlos, I think too much,
yeah,
and I'm best when I'm. What this comes from? It's not that I'm lazy. It just comes from being in the moment, right?
yeah,
It comes that if I have time, I think, and I
yeah,
overanalyze, and I think about best case, worst case scenario, and you know, and I the chattering monkeys happen,
yeah,
right? But if I don't have time, all I have time to do is to be in the moment and to be present for what's in front of me to do, which is I'm going to be my best for Carlos's podcast. I'm going to be my best for these investors. I'm going to be my best for my team. Whoever it is, if I have no time to prepare, all I have to do is to shine as hard as I can and be fully present and to say what's on my mind and to let his voice up here come through my head and out my mouth. That's what I can do. And if I prepare, that doesn't happen. If
yeah.
I don't prepare, then all I can do is be present, and that's just what I find works. Is when I'm present in the moment, just the brilliant stuff tends to come out. It clicks. Things click when I'm more present in the moment, and if I give myself not that much time, then I'm able to do that.
I know. I love you say that because I feel guilty sometimes because I like why do I have to like just work under pressure? But that's what it is. I mean, maybe that's a Libra thing, but yeah, that's how we
I
operate.
think it is. Well, I get Libras think too much, right? Because you see both sides, right? You're not convicted to being right or wrong. You say, well, I could see how the left is correct. And I also see how the right has some good points too. And then a Libra just sees the whole, and it's hard to make decisions sometimes. But if you don't give me any time to think at all, and I have to just, pick, then that's where I think our brilliance come in as Libras. So I think that the way that you can curse a Libra is giving them too much time.
I know.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time. It's been
Sure.
golden to have you. So if someone wants
You're
to
welcome.
just to learn more about you, where can they find you? How can they reach you? And definitely, this is the first, hopefully, of many, because I would love to have you again.
I'd love to
So
come back.
yeah, no, and it
Yeah.
was a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Sure.
almost like
I'd happy to come back. They can get a hold of me at derosagroup.com. That's my company name and website, DEROSA, derosagroup.com. There's copies of my book, and they can join our mailing list, and they can pick up all kinds of cool stuff we have out there for free at derosagroup.com.
We're gonna put all the links in the group and the chat, everything. So can you just hold for a minute? I want to say back to you, but I just wanna just close here. Thank you very much for everybody that will listen to us. Gracias para todos los que nos escucharon el día de hoy. Invitarlos a que nos escuchen mañana. Vamos a hablar hablando acerca de ¿por qué no celebrar el mes de la hispanidad y por qué sí celebrar la vida de la hispanidad? Los esperamos que nos acompañen. Si les gustó el show del día de hoy, compártenlo con todas las personas que pronto les puedan gustar. Y como siempre, recuerden que les habló Carlos Amaya. La familia es la base de la sociedad y una familia libre a través de inversiones en bienes raíces. En nuestra misión, que Dios los bendiga a todos. Nos encontramos, si Dios quiere, mañana a las 12 del mediodía.